Hallo und willkommen zurück zu Stanley Parable. So, was gibt's hier Neues? Meeting today in the meeting room. Da müssen wir mal hin, ne? Heute wollen wir mal versuchen, heute wollen wir ernsthaft mal versuchen, den Königsweg zu gehen. Wir probieren unser Glück. Los geht's.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Ich bin gespannt. Da gibt's wieder den Eimer. Nehmen wir den Eimer mit? Jo.
Stanley lifted the bucket into his arms, and a wave of comfort rushed over him. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
So, rein in den Meeting Room. Ja. Oha. Es hat sich irgendwas verändert, hä? Es geht hier um die Figuren auf jeden Fall. Jesus Gott, hier ist irgendjemand ausgeflippt, oder? Ach, guck mal. Da hat sich jemand so richtig verkünstelt, ne? Thank you, good luck. Ja, diese Figürchen. Wir suchen sie fleißig. Tja, how we can find them. Okay, ja, spannend auf jeden Fall. Es ist so witzig, oder? Lots of boxes. Ja, die Ideenschmiede hat hier ganz schön gebrodelt, ne? Dann würde ich sagen, weiter. Da gehen wir heute mal nicht rein, oder? Gibt's denn die Figur? Sieht nicht so aus. Ciao.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
So, werfen wir als erstes mal einen Blick in die Toilette. Ja, gut. Okay. Keine Figur für uns. Oh, hier mal Tür zu machen. Kommt man jetzt hier eigentlich wieder rein? Ah, nee, guck mal. Er lässt einen hier nicht mehr rein.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him, always. The bucket would. And he knew it. The two of them were inseparable. At this point, Stanley was so absorbed in the tender spiritual connection he shared with the bucket that he didn't notice the keypad behind the boss's desk. Nor in his bliss of simply being near the bucket did he have any notion that the PIN number for the keypad was 2845. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Ja, ich und der Eimer, wir haben eine ganz innige Beziehung. So, hier hatten wir, glaube ich, das letzte Mal die Figur gefunden, ne? Jo. Jetzt fahren wir hier mal runter.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine. Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility.
Heute schaffen wir es.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves.
Oh nee, wir lassen uns heute mal echt nicht ablenken. Das ist ja der Wahnsinn, oder? Auch interessante Arbeitsplätze hier. Weiß ich nicht, ob ich hier arbeiten würde wollen.
The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine.
Da sind wir, hier. 427. Da ist unser Büro. Ich habe die Kamera aber auch noch gar nicht gesehen. Oder haben wir die schon gesehen? Jesus Gott. Da wäre ich aber auch irre, oder? Aber geil.
Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind.
Naja, dann.
No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control, never! He squeezed the bucket tighter, his one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket.
Oh je. Oh je, wo geht's denn hier hin?
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world. They high-fived in a really cool way, and the bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system.
Der Eimer ist so gut. Ja, dann schauen wir uns mal um hier. Was haben wir hier? Mind Control Status offline. Alles offline, offline, offline hier. Was haben wir hier? Da passiert schon mal nichts, wenn man da rumdrückt. Ich würde sagen, wir schauen das erstmal ganz in Ruhe um hier. Yo, Mind Control. Ich bin so gespannt. Facility Power. Die Konsole ist auch aus. Was ist denn das hier? Und wofür sind die Knöpfe? Aha, ja, die kennen wir ja schon. Aus der Erweiterung, zumindest mal die Sounds der Knöpfe. Ja, dann stiefeln wir doch mal. Guck mal, was für merkwürdige Knöpfe die da haben, ne? Nichts geht hier.
When at last they came to the source of the room's power, Stanley and the bucket knew it was their obligation to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
Wollen wir dem Ganzen wirklich ein Ende setzen, ist die Frage, ne?
But at the last second, the bucket jumped in and pressed the button to turn on the controls. Stanley gasped in horror. Had this been the bucket's plan all along? To take over the machine and claim the power for itself? How could the bucket have betrayed him like this? Stanley was prepared to throw the bucket away in disgust when suddenly an image appeared upon the enormous screen. Birds. Silly, silly birds. The control buttons became active again.
Okay, alberne Vögel. Kommen wir hier eigentlich auch wieder raus? Nee, gell? Ist bestimmt zu, die Tür. Jo. Schade. Der Eimer, echt. Der will die Weltherrschaft an sich reißen, oder? Habe ich das Gefühl.
Stanley flipped through one video of silly birds after another, and then it dawned on him. This wasn't a mind control facility at all. It was a facility for monitoring and surveilling silly birds all over the world. The mind controls were only a facade to disguise its true intentions. Had the bucket known this all along? Stanley marveled at the metal genius in his hands, the one who had pointed him towards this incredible discovery. Stanley and the bucket never found freedom because they spent the rest of their lives here in this place, flipping through live streams of the silliest birds imaginable. Of all the possible paths his life could have taken, this one was surely the best. And Stanley was happy.
Da bin ich mir nicht sicher, ob der Stanley so happy war. Okay, ja. Dann würde ich sagen, drücken wir auf jeden Fall nochmal den anderen Knopf, oder? Dann sehen wir uns gleich dort wieder. Da sind wir auch schon wieder angekommen.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world. They high-fived in a really cool way, and the bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system.
Da kann man auch nicht hoch, ne? Nee. Da will ich gerne mal hoch. Naja, jetzt drücken wir erstmal die andere Variante.
When at last they came to the source of the room's power, Stanley and the bucket knew it was their obligation to put an end to this. Stanley and the bucket waited in blackness. Was it over? Yes, they had done it. Stanley and the bucket had defeated their greatest and darkest enemy, freed themselves from the tyrannical grip of the evil mind control machine. Freedom was now mere moments away. Excitedly, the two of them began to discuss the kind of life they wanted to live once they stepped through this massive door. The bucket wanted to learn to roller skate. Stanley wanted to sneeze in every country on Earth. Both of them wanted to begin watching a movie, any movie, but then stop it halfway through and begin watching it in reverse from the end. True, it was a simple life they envisioned, but it was one they'd lived together, with one another to lean on, to trust, to support, and What? Wait. What was happening? Why had the door stopped? Was Stanley and the bucket not about to be freed? An unbearable silence filled the room, lingering in uncertainty, until finally the truth hit Stanley square in the face. This building did not want the bucket to leave. Even the facility itself recognized the incredible calming presence of the bucket, needed the soothing warmth of the bucket, would go to any lengths not to part with the bucket. No. Stanley can't leave this place. Not while he has such a precious bucket in his arms. Not while this building has anything to say about it. Stanley realized he would never again leave this very room. But at least he has the bucket. To be trapped eternally in darkness isn't really so bad, Stanley thought to himself. As long as I have my bucket with me, right? I'll be okay, won't I? Stanley gulped. Very soon now, he was about to find out.
Okay. Wir kommen hier einfach nicht aus dem Gebäude raus. Ja, ich würde sagen, in der nächsten Folge probieren wir mal noch mal was anderes und schauen mal, ob wir da mehr Glück haben. Ich bin so gespannt, wie viele Enden es hier noch geben wird. Ja, dann freut mich, dass ihr zugeschaut habt. Und ja, die Folge ist diesmal ein bisschen kürzer, aber passt ja jetzt ganz gut. Und dann würde ich sagen, ich darf euch wieder begrüßen in der nächsten Folge. Bis dahin wünsche ich euch alles Gute, genießt die Zeit, bleibt mir gesund. Bis gleich, ciao.